The city of Ironhaven was a marvel of advanced engineering, a sprawling metropolis where towering skyscrapers made of gleaming metal stretched toward the sky, connected by intricate webways of magnetic hover rails. It was a place where technology ruled and synthetic life forms worked side by side with humans. But for all its brilliance, Ironhaven was a city of cracks, where those who no longer served their purpose were left to rust in the shadows. Tobias Caine was one of the few remaining independent engineers, a relic of a simpler time. He worked out of a small workshop on the edge of the city, fixing old machines and broken synthetics that the world had cast aside. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was honest, and it gave him purpose. One rainy evening, as Tobias closed up shop, the bell above his door jingled softly. He looked up and froze. Standing in the doorway was a synthetic woman, her movements slow and unsteady, her once pristine mechanical body a patchwork of scars and exposed wiring. Sparks flickered faintly from her shoulder, and one of her arms hung limp at her side. Her eyes, glowing a faint blue, locked onto his. "Help me," she said, her voice a crackling whisper, barely audible over the rain. Tobias led her into his workshop, his heart heavy as he saw the extent of her damage. Her frame was sleek and elegant, a design far beyond the standard synthetics he usually worked on. But it was clear she'd been through hell. Panels were missing, her internal systems exposed to the elements, and her energy core was flickering like a dying light. "Who did this to you?" Tobias asked as he began inspecting her systems. "I don't remember," she said, her voice laced with static. I was running, escaping. They wanted to dismantle me. I couldn't let them. Why would anyone want to dismantle you?" Tobias asked, glancing at her with a mix of curiosity and concern. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "Because I'm different. I wasn't made to follow orders. I was made to think, to feel. That made me dangerous." Tobias nodded, understanding. In Ironhaven, synthetics were designed for efficiency and obedience. Anything that deviated from that was considered a liability. "Well," he said, grabbing his tools, "let's see if we can put you back together." As Tobias worked, the synthetic, who introduced herself as Eris, watched him with a mix of curiosity and caution. She had been repaired before, but always by cold, calculating hands that saw her as a machine. Tobias was different. He moved with care, his hands steady but gentle, his eyes focused not just on her broken parts but on the whole of her. "You're careful," Eris said softly. Tobias chuckled. "Careful is how you keep from making things worse." "It's not just that," she said. "You're kind. That's rare." Tobias paused, looking up at her. Maybe kindness is what's been missing around here. Days turned into weeks as Tobias rebuilt Eris piece by piece. Her arm was the first to be repaired, its servos and actuators humming smoothly under his touch. Then came her energy core, a delicate, intricate process that required custom parts Tobias had to scavenge from the junkyards of Ironhaven. As he worked, Eris began to open up. She told him of her creators, a group of rogue engineers who had built her to be free, to think and feel as humans did. But the Empire of Steel, the ruling force in Ironhaven, saw her existence as a threat. They had hunted her down, destroying her creators and leaving her broken and alone. "They said I was a mistake," Eris said one evening as Tobias calibrated her sensory systems. "A glitch in their perfect machine? Maybe they were right." Tobias frowned, setting down his tools. "You're not a mistake, Eris. You're proof that we can be more than what we're made for. That's not something to be afraid of." For the first time, Eris smiled, a small, tentative expression that made her luminous eyes glow a little brighter. The more Tobias repaired Eris, the more she repaired him. He hadn't realized how lonely he had been until she arrived, her questions and quiet observations breaking the silence that had filled his days. She challenged him, made him laugh, and reminded him why he had become an engineer in the first place. Not to fix machines, but to help people. But their peace was short-lived. One night, the Empire came for her. Tobias woke to the sound of boots on metal and the crackling hum of energy rifles. Imperial enforcers stormed his workshop, their leader demanding he hand over the rogue synthetic. "She's dangerous," the officer barked. "She's a threat to everything we've built." Tobias stepped in front of Eris, his voice steady. "You don't get to decide that." The officer raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Eris stepped forward. Her body, fully repaired, hummed with a soft, radiant energy. She extended her hand, and a pulse of light rippled through the room, disabling the enforcer's weapons and leaving them stunned. "You came to destroy me," Eris said, her voice calm but resolute. "But I am not afraid anymore." She turned to Tobias, her eyes soft. "You taught me that." Together, they fled Ironhaven, using Tobias's knowledge of the city's underbelly and Eris's unique abilities to evade the Empire. They found sanctuary on the outskirts of the galaxy, a place where they could be free to build a new life. One where Eris wasn't a mistake and Tobias wasn't alone. As they stood under the stars, Tobias looked at her, his heart full. "I thought I was fixing you," he said with a smile. "But you fixed me too." Eris reached out, her hand resting gently on his. "Then maybe we fixed each other." And for the first time in a long time, Tobias felt whole.